We should be a church filled with people who not only love God with all their hearts, but they love one another. Yes. They need one another. I think the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life, I was up in Canada having a seminar. I won't even tell you which province I was in. And the conference had asked me to come in and evaluate this pastor and his wife. They were thinking of letting him go. They said, the church is not happy with him. Would you go in and see what's happening? So they asked me to come in and consult with them. So I spent a weekend in this church, big church, professional church, big city. And I stayed in the home of the pastor and his wife. And the wife at dinner that night, she shares with me that she is a professional herself. She works with autistic children. And she said to me with tears in her eyes, this is my ministry. And she said, God has given me a gift of loving these children. And it's just not just a job for me, but it's a ministry. And the women of this church, the wives of these professionals in the church, and some of these women were professionals themselves, they held a meeting with the pastor's wife and they told her that they did not want a pastor's wife who worked. They wanted a pastor's wife who would be available to meet their needs. Mm. And so because she was not free to do that, they have been shunning her. So I turned up on Sabbath morning for Sabbath school at this church. And here, if you can picture this, a whole pew, and the pastor's wife is sitting alone in the pew weeping for the whole of Sabbath school. And not one person, this is a big church, not one person in the congregation got up and went by way of comfort to that young woman. Mm. So I got up out of my seat and I just went down and put my arm around her and prayed with her. And sat with her then throughout Sabbath school. I felt sick. I said to myself, what is the reason for the existence of this church? To prove that our doctrines are superior? I mean, that's not hard to do, is it? We can demonstrate everything biblically. That's why I became an Adventist. That's not the reason for our existence, or to show people that Saturday is better than Sunday. We know that the Sabbath is the Creator's day. But I want to tell you, there's a lot of God-fearing people worshipping on Sunday too, who need to see the love of God in Seventh-day Adventists before the Sabbath will have any meaning for them. What have you got if you've got the Sabbath without love? What have you got? You're a tinkling bell and sounding brass. Anyway, Monday morning I had an appointment with the leadership of the conference. And they were sitting in their little office there. And they said, well, what's your report? Because we're ready to fire this couple and let them go. What recommendation do you have? I said, my recommendation is that you close down the church. They said, you're kidding. I said, I am not kidding. There is no grounds for maintaining a Seventh-day Adventist church here. There's no love present. Shut down the church, disfellowship the whole congregation, keep the pastor and his wife, and have them raise up a new church plant. That's my recommendation. Of course, they couldn't swallow that kind of advice. They immediately regretted bringing me up there to give them that kind of advice. So the pastor resigned. Went into medicine. He's a physician today. I'm sure that they're still in ministry. But I look back on experiences like this and I say to myself, wow, that's unfortunate. It's not enough to have the truth. Because Jesus is the truth. If you've got the truth, you have Christ in you.
Absolutely.
You have a heart of love. Mm-hmm. Not just for God. It spills over into your relationships with your brothers and sisters in Christ. If we can't love one another in the church, how are we going to live next door to each other in heaven?